from those contractors that are from Kenya, because there is a scenario or a scheme where contractors from overseas, Netherlands, Canada, they just use the name Kenya cosmetically, but in the real sense, they are not Kenyans. So maybe this might be the reasons why your power, the cost of power is very high because of the contractors. We should know, Madam Chair, the contractors, the list of the contractors who are doing these projects.
Gatana?
Chair, yes. So when the witness was telling us about the production, he mentioned that if he is given a big offtake enough, it would reduce the cost. The question I wanted to know, is it true from the PPA that assuming Kenya Power doesn't come to you this month at all, do they still pay you? And if they pay you, how much do they pay for unsupplied power? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think you can answer that one first.
Okay.
As I said, this is the capacity payment which you are referring to. Honestly, the capacity payment is made available. Once the plant is made available, that we can generate the power when and as and when required. So we are being paid for that. That is what we call as a capacity charges. So even if they don't dispatch us, but they are obligated to pay us because we are on standby. It is just like a watchman sitting at your house. You need to call him whenever you want. He should be ready. So this is the same role we play. And because it is not that you don't want to take power, we can send the people home, and we have the cost involved there, and we have to pay the loan also back. All these things are calculated depending on the capacity payments. Whether we have been dispatched or not, still we need to get paid. But only thing, when they don't dispatch, then we don't consume any HFO, the fuel we don't consume. So obviously we can't charge for any units. If no units are generated, no units are sold, no units are bought, nothing to pay. So on the energy side, they don't pay even single cent if they don't take anything. But the capacity has to be paid because, as I said, this is calculated depending on the loan amount and how long the loan amount is there and being available. So this is the concept behind it. Yeah. So actually, as my colleague is also suggesting that if we are not available, that time also we can't claim any capacity payment. Like sometimes what happens is that maybe some engines are not there, and we are available only partial capacity. Then we get paid only for that. And in fact, they can even penalize us of not being available to generate. So there is a threshold where we have to be available for 85% of the plant, always available. The 15% allowance is for the maintenance services, to do the carry out the preventive maintenance, scheduled maintenance, things like that.
Chair, just so that we can get a picture, did Kenya Power and Lighting come to you last month? This is the month of March. Did they come to you? Did they come to you in February? Did they come to you in January? Just the last 3 months, so that we get a picture. Because there is a problem, whether we justify it as capacity charge or not. There is a problem in explaining to our consumers, our voters, that we are paying for unsupplied units. So I just want you to give us a picture. In the last 3 months, how many times, and how many times have they come to you?
Coming to Triumph means dispatch, yeah, if I understand well. Yeah, we consistently get every month more or less on regular basis. See, in one month it may be higher, and the next month it could be lower. But, we do have some kind of dispatch, as I said, average 5 to 7%. But, in the more demanding months, they may take up to 15 to 20%. So I can say that every month it is not there that, we are just sitting idle. No. Every month, whether we like it or not, maybe it is not KPLC's intention also, but as I said, the other energy mix, like from wind and solar, if they are dropped suddenly, if it rains, wind cannot generate, solar cannot generate, those, they need to come to us. That's the last resort they have. Even if they don't like to come, they have to come. They also want to control the dispatch is for the fact that the fuel cost is going to be high. The moment you ask us to generate, we get our money for the energy and the capacity, but the fuel cost is also going up. That is what reflects in the consumer's bill. Whenever the fuel plant is used, it has to go somewhere. From us, it is a pass-through cost, so KPLC will take care, and KPLC has to get that money from the consumers. So that variation will be there every now and then. It cannot be constant.
I think as we are moving close to winding up, I just wanted to that's a question that came from Senator Oburu. I've just checked, maybe I didn't get it properly. How did you explain why your cost is almost double of the other producers who also use generators? That one I didn't really get it.
Nairobi.
The concept here to understand is when these plants came online and at what cost we procured the financing. Obviously, our cost is high because of probably, honestly, I don't know. Even Kenyan gets paid for capacity, so it is not that we are the only one. It's not a unique case. And all other IPPs also get, as I'm not privy to what they get. Obviously, that is what is going to decide at what capacity charges one plant is charging and what Triumph is charging. Probably there could be some difference, maybe that you have seen. And cost of fuel, the unit also is obviously, as I said, we need to understand the energy generation is dependent on the fuel cost also. That's how we may look higher. That's why we don't get the dispatch also, because it's not that it is only we are also losing. Honestly, when we are not dispatched, as I said, our variable costs, apart from the fixed costs, we have a lot of variable operating costs. We don't get to meet them. So we have to plug in from the capacity charges, and we pay our obligations, which should have been ideally should have come through the dispatch. So either way, we are also hardly hit. Though because we have entered into an agreement, we have to keep our obligations fulfilled.
So it's actually we are in a fix because we can't get out of it. But if we were to do another calculation, if we were to say that we do termination, mutual termination, and then we look at the environmental cost, we look at the high cost the Kenyans are paying, maybe don't you think that maybe it will be advantageous for both of us, both the country and both you as a company, maybe you can go into green energy, maybe invest your money elsewhere, and maybe save the environment, which I think, according to the Constitution of Kenya, if Kenyans were to go and say that they are being denied the right of a clean environment, it did not, I have not seen a clause here that talks about observing that right. And from the answer you gave me or us about what the company is doing to mitigate the environmental degradation, I don't think that we are doing enough as a company. Maybe we can get into a discussion whether we should not terminate and stop polluting the environment so that your colleagues' children there can have a future, and maybe the moral obligation you'll have as a company, maybe we can look at it that way. Because if you're saying we are not taking enough because we are expensive, and then you cannot even imagine reducing because you're not able to meet your costs, then we are in a kind of a catch-22 where we can sit down and say, now let's have a discussion. What is cheaper for you? What is cheaper for the environment? What is cheaper for all of us? As you also maybe look at what you'll get out of it, putting it in more greener, more friendly energy. Maybe you can go to geothermal. If you have passion for energy generation, maybe you can go to hydrogen production. There are so many other investments that you can do with the same investment, and at least the cost of erasing the footprint, the carbon footprint that you leave behind, maybe that could be the benefits that the country is getting. I don't know, maybe it's something that you're a financial guy, because I can see he's quite keen on that. Maybe it's a calculation he should do and make a presentation to the board of directors, whether it is actually not a consideration that should be taken. Otherwise, I think Senator Ormenen, yes?
My question was not answered of the contractors.
Oh, the question of contractors, yes, I think.
And on top of that, my observation is that the witness have maintained that even after the lease, which I think maybe after 2035, yeah, they are expected to maybe to stop the leasing. But with my observation, these other companies' PPAs are very cheap than the witness that is here. So, Chair, suppose the government of Kenya, through this committee, releases a policy that maybe the policy will eradicate some of these PPIs, because we have realized that the high cost of power is because of these PPIs. So what will happen? Will they be comfortable if the policy will say that? Will they be comfortable?
Thank you very much. I think that, Senator Romenen, that still goes almost the same question I was asking. If we were to sit down and talk about mutual termination, whether we will not save a lot of cost. You know, the contract is cast on the stone. And the grapevine is saying that there are very prominent people in the former regime who are also part of this company, and that is why they got to get such a friendly prices that are skewed to their favor. I'm also told that, I don't know, and I do not want to ask that question because I don't think I'll get to know the answer. Some of these names here are people connected with the former PSs of energy, former CSs, and some other prominent figures in the former government. I do not know. That's why what people are saying. We'll maybe come to find out whether that's true at a later point. But I think that question is quite important if we can not look at that. And I think your financial guide is there. Maybe we should start looking at those figures. And your legal advisor is here. We can still looking at, for the sake of our country, because we are burdening the Kenyans with high bills. We are burdening the environment with a very, very high carbon emission. Maybe we should ask, if we stop production, then we would save the country. We would save the future. And maybe that's a discussion we should have. Sure. Senator Oburu.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, just in addition to what my brother here has said, there is payment of interest when there is a delay in payment of your bills when you invoice the Kenya Power and Lighting. And I would like to know how often this happens. How often does Kenya Power delay in settling your invoices, and whether in the recent past there are any invoices which are actually as a result of this penalty called interest, which you charge. Because it appears that this is, again, one of the reasons why the power bills are high, because you are paid even when you are paid for what you call capacity. And that capacity is a capacity which you are paid for when it is idle. And when it is idle, you invoice for it, and that there is delay in settling the invoice, you also charge interest on that, and the interest is not small. So are there occasions when those invoices are not settled on time and there are interest paid on these invoices?
Chairman, I want to add to that. One, maybe for the record also, maybe they can tell us per unit how much do they get paid per unit if they don't supply power at all. Secondly, from what Senator Oburu has said, civil servants also can use that loophole of interest to do corruption, to delay intentionally so that there is additional money that can be paid to the company, then they get something from that. So we want to know how much, this late payment, how many occasions have you had, say, in a year, so that we know where also the reason for the high cost of power, so that we can also call Kenya Power here and put them to task. Yeah, because, we are suffering. The reason why people are going to the street, it is because of cost of living, which power contributes part of this high cost of living. And the reason why we're here as the representative of the people is to ensure by all means power must come down and the cost of living must come down.
I think you let him, maybe you can take that final round.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Well, we are, honestly, I think, this is the case with all the IPPs, that KPLC does delay in paying. And we are also not insensitive, as we all said, that, we need to care for each other. We have not charged yet any interest to KPLC. That's our consideration. Maybe how long I can take it, I can't tell. But so far there were various instances where KPLC delayed our payment. They are supposed to pay within 30 days after submitting the invoice. We do get paid in 60 days, sometimes 45 days, sometimes 65 days. So we also live with this. And as I said, we are also sensitive. We don't want to increase the cost. Where we can absorb, we have been absorbing, and where we can't, I have to tell myself that probably I can't help here. So that way, I think I have answered your question. And coming back to contractors, if I am allowed to proceed. So, may I, Vice Chair? Can I continue with his?
No, you have not said what is the cost. How much you pay per unit if Kenya Power does not take your power also?
Yeah, as I said, if we are not generating, means if we are not dispatched, we don't charge anything to KPLC. We are there, just there. Only capacity.
Only
we get.
capacity charge.
Yeah.
What's the capacity charge?
The capacity charge is about $300 US dollars per kilowatt hour per year. So I think I can address his question. So contractors, honestly, though, this is not Triumph Power's intention to continue with the contractors. Initially, the EPC contractor has to be appointed because this is a huge project. It is about like $145 million project. And we didn't have capacity here locally. We have engaged XJ International from China, who supplied machines and all balance of plant. They erected, commissioned. And during that work, local contractors were engaged. It is not that the whole thing has come from China, but local contractors also were given jobs. They fabricated things, they have erected things. So that way I say that there was some employment and some money was retained in the country. And coming back to the O&M, that is operations and maintenance contract, that contractor we need to continue until lenders get away from us, because this is a lender's requirement. Also KPLC, because Triumph Power as a company didn't have this expertise in running the plants. Only they had the means to promote the company. They have invested. But you need experts to run the company. So we have engaged MAN and Diesel Turbo, that is from Germany, West Germany. They are on a contract basis. So they are just doing the second contract now. And once that finishes, and by that time, if we can convince the lenders, probably we can do away with them. And MAN contractor also, all the plant running people are Kenyans, local people. They have only one expatriate running the plant. He's the plant manager.
Members, any supplementary question? Yes, Senator Oburu.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this fuel, the fuel you are saying has to be adjusted because the prices in the international market also fluctuate. Now, they don't just fluctuate upwards. Sometimes they also fluctuate downwards. And the pump prices in Kenya are regulated by EPRA. They determine the range of prices within which there's competition. Now, do you import the fuel yourself, or you buy from the marketers locally? And if you buy locally or you purchase, do you have some fuel purchase agreement which gives some transparency in what you charge in terms of fuel adjustment costs? Because it is important, because this is a very, very significant element in the billing for electricity. So we would like to know the transparency in this fuel supplies, and how do you deal in this fuel? What's the arrangement? Yes. That is my supplementary question, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lomenene, I can see you. You have a quick one, maybe, so that we conclude.
Chairman, I think I'm not with the idea of saying there are Kenyans that are not able to get to qualify for the contracts. Chairman, this is the way Kenyans have been denied opportunities to do business. Remember, I come from Turkana County, and there are companies that are international, like now Talo. What Talo do, Mr. Chair, they source their equipments from Britain, from whatever they come from, but we gave a policy, a condition that any heavy equipment, there should be a local contractor, a local company should work together with this international company, so that we should not suffer the issue of capital flight, that the company comes from London, and then the contracts come from the London. Now, what will be the benefit of the Kenyans? Surely. And then the other chair, you remember, the Kenyans are saying that the Kenyans are employed, are getting company. You see simple contracts that are worthy 5 million, 2 million, and regard the other one which is billions. It's like now a professional who earns 1 million, and then you say one from London, and then here in Kenya you employ casuals, that the total of casuals which are maybe 100, what the amount that you pay to them is only is only 1%. Surely that is injustice.
Thank you very much, members. I think we have to close it at this.
Chairman, I just wanted to say the last one, just like maybe for record, for also for them to go and even ourselves, because if you check the fuel cost, Honorable Chairman, you know they are not standardized, and we know IBRA sets prices for AGO, they set price for also all the diesel and the others, and you know them they are using diesel, but what they call HF4. So I'm thinking as a proposal going forward when we retreat is to ensure that we use, instead of each of the IPPs, the thermal ones, buying their own HF4 directly, we standardize so that the IBRA gives standard price. And you know that's a quick win to lower the price of the unit cost.
Thank you very much, members, and thank you very much. I think as you answer that, okay,
Yeah,
first answer that one, then we can close it.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting proposal, as Vice Chair has made it. But transparency-wise, coming back to honourable member, honestly, we have a transparent contract for the fuel supply with the local marketers. As I said, in PPA it is very well laid out procedure, where KPLC also follows through and ratifies whatever action we take. First of all, it starts with the advertising in the newspapers, the bidding, then the bidders will be called. The opening of the tender is witnessed by KPLC officials, and then we do the evaluation and we pick the most competitive bidder, and we again get the approval from the KPLC to give the award to the particular supplier. So that way, and all the invoices we get from the fuel supplier, we submit to the KPLC, and KPLC has to give that price to the EPRA, and the EPRA again ratifies whatever the cost has been involved. So the whole process is actually very transparent, and we also follow this one to the letter. And coming back to Vice Chair's proposition that we buy in bulk, I agree. EPRA may not be able to control what we are buying HFO, but KPLC, as being the user, they are controlling us, and we are obligated to give each and every invoice with the fuel supplier's invoice we submit to the KPLC on the second day of the month. So that way the transparency is there, and as also I said, if we can get G2G contracts like what we have got for the white fuels, the black fuel can also be controlled. Honestly, and I have no other. In fact, I welcome that idea, so that it will remove us from the equation, creating all kinds of suspicion which is just going through. But honestly, we are happy with what we get and what we deserve. That is what we are looking for, and that's how we want to do the business, honestly.
But Mr. Chairman, he is actually the most expensive in this fuel adjustment cost from the table I have here. You are the most expensive. When the others, the total charges here is, yours is about 50. Yeah, the Triumph Travels is, the total is variable is
23.693.
Yeah, and yet the others are 15, 11, 12, what, 20, the highest, yes. And you are the most expensive. I mean, why? Do you buy from somewhere which is more expensive than all the others, or you make more profit than the others? Why do you become the most expensive?
Okay. This one is not actually a TPG-induced cost. It's only, it happens that we bought the fuel at a higher price before these contracts ended. So that is the stock which we have used and which has been now diluted. It is now zero, the higher cost fuel which we bought. Now we have got a different supplier, and which is lower than the cost of fuel which we procured earlier. And see what happens here is, once again I'm going back to the same and repeating the same thing. If we are not used enough, obviously we are left with a lot of fuel lying there, which we might have bought 2 years ago at a higher price, and the prices after that have dropped, and we can't do anything. So first one, first in, first out is the procedure which we follow for the fuel. I think that's where probably you need to also look into in detail and try to understand our predicament, why we are unable to offer what you are expecting at this point of time. But going forward, I'm sure that we all find a solution. Maybe it may take a little bit of time, but I think we need to find a good solution.
Thank you very much, members, and thank you very much, Triumph Power, for that presentation and having honored the invitation. Members, as you are noticing from the whole process, it is becoming evidently clear that a lot more needs to be done in terms of planning for the power demand so that we can be able to mitigate some of the losses that the Kenyans are incurring. But we also noticed that the blame is shifted squarely on the doorsteps of Kenya Power for failure to plan, for failure to give in advance the demands that will be there. We also noticed that most of the providers have mentioned the fact that if a little bit more what was taken from them, they would be able to lower the prices. Therefore, I think as we say thank you for your coming, we are left with the question, how do we then stimulate the demand of power so that Kenyans can have cheap, reliable, and most importantly, available power supply. The suppliers are ready, they say, to produce the maximum they can and evacuate the same, but Kenya Power is not willing for whichever reason. So the question would be, is anybody within the Kenya Power benefiting from the losses that are being made by Kenyans, or is it an advantageous point of view for them when they cannot give the demand in advance, or maybe should we open up export market for the power so that we can be able to sell the surplus to bring the cost of power down? As I'm letting you go, will be writing to you to request you to give us a comprehensive report on environmental mitigation measures that you are undertaking. It would be kind of you if you include the CSR that you've been doing up to now, and moving forward, maybe you can include a paragraph or two of what you think should be done so that we can get at the bottom of this quagmire of lowering the cost of energy. Therefore, thank you very much for coming. I think the sergeant at arms can see you, walk you out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to us. And I'm not here to blame KPLC. I didn't blame KPLC. Probably, as I said, the plan was ambitious. Sometimes, things don't go the way you think. That is what happened here, but we are all here to sit together and find a solution. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, members of the Fourth Estate. Let me thank you for the